Hey, welcome to the program. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, 651-775-9194. That's the big number. That's the hotline.
Yes,
That's the one everybody calls. Or go to ourhealthyhomes.com, ourhealthyhomes.com. Click on any of the links above, give you good information. Every one of them is worthwhile clicking on, just checking it out. And you can sign up for all the exciting adventures coming on down the line, including, but not limited to, the pickleball healthy retreat, whatever that's all about, Sheila.
Pickleball pampering.
Okay.
You wanted a P word.
Okay.
Remember?
Pickleball
you
pampering.
asked me, I think I did wellness, and you said, no, get a P word in there. So I said, okay, pickleball pampering retreat. And so it is a
Now, do you have a pickleball pampering pedicure involved in that process?
Oh, I better write that one down.
All
pedicure. Right. Okay, I'm writing
it
down.
Going.
That's right. So if you go to ourhealthyhomes.com, click on the events tab, you'll see the events there. You'll see the pickleball pampering retreat details, but just a little highlight of what we're going to do. We're going to have a weekend at the mansion, and it's Friday to Sunday, and you're going to go play pickleball.
Yep.
And Keith is our transportation to get us all there. The mansion sleeps 12, so we have all the personal care products that you need because the house is healthy and no chemicals. So you're going to have an opportunity to use
and experience
those products. We're going to have at Chips, we're going to have the pickleball, the cold plunge, the sauna. Back home, we can swim that night if we want. We've got the Soki Hot Health Spa you can try. We're going to have some stretches that are going to be guided from our body worker. And all meals are included. Friday night's meal. Of course, we have to have games, get to know each other, that kind of thing.
You going to have pickle rolls?
Well, probably. We'll have breakfast at the mansion before we head out for pickleball. That pickleball is going to be all day, 10 to 4. Lunch will be provided there. We'll have dinner Saturday night at the house. Of course, we're going to have some sort of award, trophy, right? And then Sunday is going to be breakfast and then on your way out. But some of the therapies or treatments or techniques that we're going to have available is a PEMF mat. It's similar to a Beamer, if you've heard of that. Of course, a swag bag. The swag bag is probably going to have $50 to $75 worth of swag in it. And we have to have pickleball bingo. We have to have games. We have to have prizes. You guys probably know my jam by now. And so, of course, the pickleball tournament, you can be at any level that you want because I will design it so that people are playing and matched up with who they should be matched up with. And the optional add-ons will be a detox foot bath if you've never had one. They're cool, gross, and feel good all at the same time. And then raindrop technique. So I don't know if we've talked much about the raindrop on the show.
People don't know what a raindrop is. Essentially, it's a light massage with using essential oils.
Yeah, light techniques for a certain purpose on the spine and on the feet. So viruses live in the spine, so we want to really address all those oils to the spine for that reason and inflammation and discomfort and all those other things.
Speaking of spine, are you going to have a chiropractic pickleball practitioner on there? Or?
I don't know. I haven't thought of that either. So it's a time to immerse yourself, get away, have a good time, and you can reserve your spot by going on ourhealthyhomes.com and going to the events tab. And there's other events on there. And so I sent out an email. If you want to get on the email list, just let me know. Shoot me a text or an email. And I'll get you on the email list. I send out usually testimonials and what events are coming up. And this last week, I sent an email about Advil and ibuprofen and those over the popular pills that people take for their back, their neck, their knees, their feet, their hands, anywhere. And if we all have heard that pickleball is the number one.
Yep.
injury, and chiropractors and doctors are being flooded with
thrilled by its success.
Right.
Okay.
So I just want you to think differently about reaching for those Advils and those ibuprofens, because they are responsible for check it out, over 16,000 deaths.
Really?
In the U.S. every year.
What's that information come from? You knew I was going to ask that.
I knew you were. From the Science Natural Secrets, and I have the link if anybody wants me to send it to
you. Know what the problem is
over
with that
16,000 deaths.
Here's the problem, or the reason, I guess. If it's easy.
It's easy, and I'm going to go into that. That's funny that you say that.
It's just so easy.
Because okay, and
it works.
Well, yeah, it works until you're like me, the Advil junkie that I used to be, and now my liver
it works
starts
for a
to
couple
fail.
of hours.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, every 4 hours, like whatever it is. And I mean, I was there. I mean, I was an Advil junkie, right? It contributed to the liver failure, right? And so with that, I just want to say I've been in pickleball now for 3 months. I was learning the game, to go to the Young Living Convention, to be in the tournament, raise money for the foundation. Like, I'm competitive, but have I had a few injuries along the way? Yes, I have. And I don't choose to reach for the Advil anymore, but I mean, I have done.
You were tempted.
No, I was not, because I'm not going back to that. I mean, I know what to do, right? But I have been oiling up. I have been oiling up and putting, the warm pack on. I've been doing the stretches. My hot house, all of the things.
It's become a full-time job.
No, not a full-time job. But my point of it is that I have made it through.
Sheila's getting ready, ladies and gentlemen. Sheila's getting ready to play a tournament in Utah.
Yeah.
And so it has become a full-time job.
It has been a full-time job. Getting ready.
She is playing, and she is working out, and she's practicing, and she's going to get this tournament dialed in.
I am. And my mind thinks that my inside is still 20. Not that I was really that active at 20, but because I was, but anyway. So my mind and my thinks that my body can go faster and do all these things. And so I've had a few hiccups along the way, and I just want you to know that there is a natural way, and that you can do it too, that you don't have to reach for those things that are damaging the body. Okay? And, there is a healthy alternative. It's not all doom and gloom. Like, you can turn things around. And I read an email from a guy that I love, Wellness Warrior. And sometimes he gets really honest with you.
Don't want that.
You don't want that.
No honesty.
Right?
Don't want anything. Lie to me.
Right. And this one kind of like hit home, and I thought, okay, I think I just need to verbalize it, and you'll lift it up, because I'm pretty straightforward, and he's a little bit softer about it. It's time. It's time that we have to take some personal responsibility for our health, our physical health, our mental health. We just can't continue to rely on the medications and the Advils of the world and all of those things. It is time. I'm inviting you people. I'm trying to say it as nice as I can. I'm inviting you to please take the time to invest in your health and take some responsibility for it. And I want to be that person to help you move through it, get through it, guide you through it, walk you through it, whatever it is. Because just like I don't drink anymore, I don't smoke anymore, I don't do the diet pop anymore, and I want to say it really is greener on the other side.
I want to just say, add to that a little bit if I can.
Please save me.
Try it. Yeah, really. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Just think about this. In 90 days, give me 90 days
90
with
days,
you.
3 months.
And I guarantee you that at the end of the 90 days, you will feel better than you did when you started, number one.
Yes.
And your outlook will be different than it was on the day you started. We do coaching for people in real estate, and we charge them a lot of money to do coaching. It's a 90-day program. But in 90 days, it's a miraculous how much you can change your mindset and your attitude in 90 days. people are tuning into the show for the first time. They're wondering, who the heck are these clowns on here? This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, the 4 pillars of a healthy home. We talk about the real estate. We talk about what's going inside the real estate, inside your home. We talk about your body, your physical well-being, and we talk about your emotional and spiritual well-being. And we're going to get to that in the next segment with Elizabeth Kittleson when we come back. This is Our Healthy Homes. See you after the break. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, 651-775-9194. We're talking about the 4 pillars of a healthy home. Pillar number 4 this week, we're talking about emotional well-being. And, you know, I live with it every day. So I'm just telling you, Sheila's got some issues, you know, and we've been talking therapy.
Here we
we've
go,
been
Liz.
talking therapy.
Liz,
Okay.
Liz. Is this going to turn into a therapy session for
No,
Liz?
I
I
don't
don't do couples therapy.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. All right.
Okay, so what do you do? So just tell us a little bit about. I want to just start from the beginning. With, like, what got you interested in it? You know, do you have some childhood trauma or something that you're still trying to work through, or whatever? What got you down this road? And then any specialties that you may have, and then we'll just kind of let it roll from there.
For sure. Yeah. So I was a camp counselor for many years.
Okay.
I know, so cute.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to work with kids
Okay.
when I grew up, but I didn't really want to go into teaching. I didn't feel like that was a calling for me. And so, having had some personal experience with therapy, someone suggested, why don't you go to counseling school?
Mhm.
And so, I didn't want to graduate, and I was ready to go on to do more schooling. So, I applied to a graduate program in family therapy. And I loved it. I loved how it really focused on this idea of taking care of not only ourselves, but the systems we're a part of. Whether it's our families, our medical systems, our educational systems, really taking care of our wellness in all the areas we show up. And that really really made me feel really passionate.
What kind of systems are you talking about?
So systems are like, think about you every day. You think about your home, who's in your family. Think about the people you interact with at work. Think about the society or the community, the city you live in, the bigger picture, the nation. So we're thinking about systems, not only from that like small micro level to the macro level. And that influences us, right? Like thinking about the products that are on the shelves, the people we're interacting with day to day, who's making the decisions. That really impacts us beyond just ourselves. So we have the ability to manage and take care of ourselves, but we also want to think about wellness in the whole system.
What about socioeconomic systems then?
Yes.
Because you've got where is your practice?
We're in Apple Valley.
You're in Apple. So you're in suburban, nice, safe suburban USA, where everybody has a job and everybody's, you know, drives a nice car and lives in a nice house. And how does that interact then with our immigrant population? Because Apple Valley has a pretty strong immigrant population. Some of the schools are pretty heavily weighted immigrant. They'd have different socioeconomic paths than we do. And how does that blend in with the systems that we have in place, if I'm not getting too esoteric here? And then how does that dynamic with the interaction with other children when they're seeing how, you know, normal, you know, suburban America lives versus either where they came from, where they grew up, how their grandparents lived? How does that manifest itself?
Well, I think it's something to think about is the systems we're in part of impact our behaviors and the way we're thinking, which is right. And so you think about, like, if you grow up a certain way and you're interacting with someone else who grew up a different way, there's a lot of like needing to understand, a lot of needing to kind of where are you coming from? Where am I coming from? So there's a lot of needing to like understand cultural differences, socioeconomic differences, because that plays a different role, right? If I grow up in a home that maybe there is low income and lack of access for food, I might find anxiety over lunch at school. Am I going to have enough to eat? Versus somebody who is in a different situation might not have that anxiety at school and might not understand where that person is coming from. So I think when we think of systems, we need to be aware of all the systems we're a part of, because that really then influences how someone shows up and the support that they need.
So you deal with kids mostly.
I used to do with kids, and that's what got me to this profession and how I love the systems of it. But I've actually moved to working in a different system. So one of the things I really focus in now is working with parents. So I do.
Wow, and they need it.
They need the help. So I've moved into a lot of parent coaching, perinatal support, so working with moms, because I think about, again, that system and the families we're a part of. I was seeing kids in middle school, but they've had these years of experience of ways that they've been influenced, ways that things have shaped them. And I thought, well, what if I could help and support earlier on? So I work a lot with perinatal women in that birth newborn stage of how do I support attachment, healthy attachment? How do I take care of myself as I'm raising children to support really healthy families in our communities?
Do you ever, when you're in conversation with somebody and it just seems like it's going no place, you just want to slap them? I mean, it's just you and me talking.
We are
now.
being totally honest on here.
You're all over it.
Wow.
Because my daughter's in family counseling,
Yeah.
therapy, and I listen to some of the stories she tells, and it's like, I couldn't do that because I just want to.
We're a different era, yes. We
You know
are
what
a
I'm saying?
different era as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to get out there and do it. And speak. We do a lot of entertaining at the mansion, and we have a lot of diverse groups that come in. A lot.
Yes.
From all over the country, all over the world, and they come in, and I watch how they interact with their children, and compare that to how white suburban America interacts with their children. It's like that's how my parents used to interact with me. It's a stronger bond than it seems to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that bond with the kids is the exception now as opposed to the rule. Because it seems like, and I might be just blowing smoke, I don't know, but it seems like that a lot of people, a lot of families are outsourcing their responsibilities to somebody else.
Okay, that was a good way to put it. Outsourcing.
And then are disappointed when it doesn't have the result that they're looking for.
Yes.
And then they're like, they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, your parents didn't do that. Why are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Going back to your original comment about wanting to slap them, there's a really funny Mad TV sketch about a therapy office, and the therapist says, just stop it. And it does feel that urge because sometimes you can see a few steps ahead and you can see what's going to happen. You see how it's not
of course.
working.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, if only you would change it. We don't say stop it or
Right.
slap them, but
Right.
sometimes it's really frustrating to see, especially in parenting. I know what's going to end up 5-10 years from now.
Right.
And I would really love for it to be different. But unfortunately, I'm not you. I can't live your life. And so you have to make that choice.
But can you warn them about that?
Definitely.
To say, what you're doing is really stupid.
And that's where you get to that piece around the parenting thing, is that we do a lot of parent coaching around how to support parents in raising children that gives
Am I
structure.
making you're backing up?
Oh, no, I was
You're
just
making you
readjusting.
nervous now.
No, but it's this piece of a lot of times people end up in like what we call permissive parenting,
Yeah.
where there's just no structure, there's no boundaries, and that actually research shows isn't good for children.
I think that's where we went.
Yeah.
I think that's where we went wrong.
Oh.
I think we took a little
It went
dive.
from really authoritative to permissive.
Well, let's just describe what we're talking about
Yeah.
here because there's permissive and then there's loose. So when I was a kid, it was like go out and play. My parents never knew what I was doing. I was just out playing. Be home when the streetlights come on, right? So there was that kind of autonomy and unstructured play. Go to the park, go to whatever it is. Nobody hovering around, no helicopter parents hovering around, micromanaging my every move.
Right. I mean, it was
Or
different then now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. My every interaction.
Yep.
Okay, so to me, that was pretty permissive. That was pretty loose. But it isn't like when you do something wrong. When I did something wrong, I didn't get a pat on the head. Let's just say I got a pat on my rear end with a strap because it was like, this is wrong, and I'm going to help you remember that it's wrong. So then I got hit with a strap.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Your era was less divorce.
Okay.
Okay. True. Like less divorce happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see, because the divorce rates are high, we deal with it in real estate all the time,
Mm-hmm.
the divorce rates are high. I feel, and I could be totally off the mark, that even 10, 20 years ago, when the divorce, I feel like that's when it started to creep up. Divorce just got easier 20 some years ago, 25 years ago. And then there was that parenting scare, right? Like if I discipline my children, are they going to want to not live with me anymore and
Sure.
go live with
Right.
the other parent?
Use it
That's
on.
where I feel like some of this loose parenting
Permissive.
and all of that kind of really boiled and like blew up because there was that scary mindset in a divorced parent's world that I don't want to lose them, but I don't want to discipline them because if I discipline them, then my spouse is just gonna, feed them the sugar and give them everything they want, and I don't. Does that play a part at all? Do you see that as a?
Well, I think what we see, which kind of aligns with that, is the world's different.
Yeah.
It's different than it was 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And so there's different things that parents are dealing with. And so I think you're right in the sense of like life looks different. Kids can go anywhere that they want to with that divorce piece. But then we also seeing social media. We're seeing other things happen. And then also our research is getting better too on attachment. So I think you're right that things do look different than they did 20 years. So parenting has to change.
This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com. 651-775-9194. 651-775-9194. Ourhealthyhomes.com. Go there and click on the tabs, any one of them. Lots of classes on there, too. Self-taught. You can go on there and just learn about something if you want to do that. Easy
We're
peasy.
talking frequencies in the bodies in August.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Our Healthy Homes. I'm thinking about the high conflict divorce. I'm looking at Sheila.
Okay.
Ourhealthyhomes.com. 651-775-9194. Okay. We specialize in. We do a lot of high conflict divorce.
Oh.
I like high conflict divorce.
Yeah.
I'm good at being in the middle.
It works well because, and I always say this to people: if I were to ask you, Liz, you're happily married, and you're not thinking about divorce, and if you were going to sell your house, would it matter if you had a male or a female? And you would say no, right?
No. Yeah.
Right. If I were to ask you that when you're in a divorce, would it matter? It's different.
Ooh, I don't know.
It is different for most people.
Yeah.
So they really like it because there's a male and a female.
You're a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter if you ask that question when you're happily married, but then when things start to fall apart, then it matters.
I want someone they can relate to.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And they feel like no one's going to gang up on them.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
We see that in therapy too.
I want to talk about Carnelia Mental Health.
Yes.
Carnelia. Is that right?
Carnelia. Mm-hmm.
Well, how'd you come up with that name?
So there's a stone, you might be familiar with this, Sheila,
yes.
the carnelian stone.
Okay.
And the stone is rooted in this idea. Warriors used to wear it into battle for courage. It encourages creativity and bravery. And what I do and I specialize now in is around anxiety and working through things that maybe make us avoid or not live our life fully. And so when I was coming up with the name, I thought of carnelian stone, and then I created Carnelia to think about how can I help my clients find the courage, find that bravery to live the life that they want. A lot of times anxiety can be such a burden where people are not doing the things that they want. They feel really shut down. They feel like they can't achieve what they want. And so what I do in my work every day is, what do you want to be doing? Where do you want to see yourself? What would be your ideal life? And with that, I support them in getting them there.
We have an oil that is called Valor. That's a blend of oils that they use that mix of oils back in the day before they went into battle for courage and all of the things.
Yeah.
So it's
And the
wonderful.
Romans sat in their bath with,
Yep.
what was it? German,
Chamomile?
yes. Okay. I want to talk about age.
Age. Okay.
Do you notice at any particular age when you're thinking about living their life and with the expert, where they stop caring so much about what other people think and start becoming more at peace with who they are? I guess, for lack of a better, I hate using that term because it sounds so, yo-yo to me, but it's a good term, I guess. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah. I mean, there's no research to back it up that I'm aware of on my own, but based on just like what I've seen and experienced in my clinical work, around 30s and 40s. Because a couple of things. We've already had children.
Mm-hmm.
there's a sense of this like loss of control at that point, right? Like life is busy, life is overwhelming, and there's this like sense of, okay, this is it. I need to make my life work. And so 30s and 40s, you also start to face kind of that second half of your life. And when you reevaluate your first, you're like, whoa, why did I spend so much time about caring about this stuff? I've got half my life left. I want it to look a certain way. So about the middle age is when I start to see people say, I don't care anymore. I got, no more F's to give, as they say.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, what I've noticed, I don't know about Sheila, but when we're early on in our career path and all that stuff, we're in the acquisition stage, where we're acquiring things,
Yes.
we're building big houses, we're buying cars, we're doing this, we're taking the fancy schmancy vacations, we're doing all that. After you've done that for a while, and you've been to Mexico, 50 times, whether you go back for the 51st time is really not that important to you. And then it seems like the second half of your life you spend getting rid of things, because you find that and it drives me crazy, and I've said it many times to my kids and to everyone. You work hard to acquire something, and 6 months later it's in the dumpster. Because you realize that nobody really wanted it, nobody used it, and now it's just in the way.
Yeah.
You just want to get it out of the way.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't always understand is I always thought, like, when I was younger, old people, I'm like, why do you like gardening so much? Like, what's the point? Like, go on the trip, go do something fun, go hang out with your friends. And now as I've gotten older and I've worked with clients, I see this understanding of like the small things are pleasurable. The things that you can like foster and take control of. There's growth, there's creativity and beauty in it, but it's in like such a small scale. It's simple, it's not complicated. It can be really beautiful. And so I'm getting there, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I don't need all the new stuff. I just want to be at home and relax with my kids.
So you work with mainly the adults.
Yes, I do mostly adults now.
Okay, and so this is mental health, or this is more than that?
So it's mental health. So it right now, the way that we get it covered is it's diagnostic. So people come in with a mental illness that we diagnose, and then
Who diagnoses that?
we
You?
do.
Okay.
Yep, as a therapist, and then
Okay.
we treat that quote unquote mental illness. So whether it's depression or something more significant or anxiety, we focus in on how do we relieve those symptoms, but then support your wellness.
And is it always geared towards the medication route?
No, we don't do any medication.
Okay.
So I don't prescribe medication.
So we jive.
Yeah, I don't
Gotta
do
be careful
anything.
about that question.
Yep, I don't prescribe. We don't do anything with medication. We really just are focused on that whole person, whether that's their mind and body.
With that in mind, then do you take a look at their what their daily activities are like? In other words, are you a fast food junkie? Are you drinking too much alcohol? Do you drink too much coffee? Do you? And are there some things that you could do that you could change in your daily kind of routine that would manifest itself through your body, your physiology, where you are actually feeling better and performing better that way? And because you feel better physically, you're going to be more able to adapt and to react to the things that come at you on a daily basis.
Definitely. Going back to that original thing I mentioned in the beginning about systems, right? I had a professor who said everything is everything. And so we
Everything is everything.
Everything is everything. And we look at everything. So I don't just look at, a snapshot of your day. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at how you're caring for your body, what your sleep looks like.
No, it's huge.
I'm going to use that,
Everything is everything.
I'm going to use that on her.
Everything is everything.
Everything is everything.
But it's a
Sheila.
good reminder to say we don't just ignore things. Our assessments are super long because I need to know everything to make sure that I am creating a wellness plan that actually works for you, but then also pays attention to what needs to change. So yeah, if you're sitting at home super sedentary and not taking care of yourself, we're going to have a conversation about that.
What if people come and they are on meds? Do you
we're not like, so when it comes to meds, like there are certain times where it's needed when we think about like really low functioning. So I'm not opposed to meds, but I think it's a matter of, it's not like our first line of defense. Oh, you're coming in with some anxiety. Here, I'm going to recommend you go the medication.
Great.
But there are times where I have people who, they're in the hospital, like they can't get going in their day-to-day life, and sometimes that's going to be the thing that gets them, I call it the life raft, gets in the life raft to then actually do what they need to do for wellness. So there are times where it's needed, but it's not our first line of defense.
What's your thoughts on like a group therapy sessions? Do you do group?
I don't personally do group, but I've been trained in them. I've done them in the past. They're fun. They're a nice way to, especially if you're feeling lonely or isolated, it's a really nice way to build connection, but also learn from others as well.
Do you think there's a lot of pretense in groups? I mean, there's a shield that goes up, when you sit down in a group, that now I have to pretend so I don't look bad for the group. And even with you on a one-on-one, when you're first starting to deal with someone, how do you break down that protective barrier that comes up with your client?
That's a good question. I think especially with pretense in the group setting or even in therapy, people won't make the appointment if they're really going to be defensive or don't want to be open or vulnerable. So I think there's that added layer of like, they're not going to call me. No one's going to do group.
And it's the adult that's making the appointment. So it's not like they're making it for their child and the child is the one that doesn't want to come.
Yeah.
Got it. So people that are making the appointment with you are the adults, are the ones that are going to see you.
And they're oftentimes, scheduling that appointment, they want to do the work. So that already breaks down that layer. But then if we do see that, whether that's defensiveness or fear of showing up vulnerability, we'll start to explore why. Mm-hmm. Why is that showing up? What's coming up? What's your historical experience?
They're not 35 yet.
What's their fear? Yeah. Like, are you worried about judgment from me? Are you worried about what will happen? I often see a lot of clients are worried about, like, if I open up the doors,
right,
can I zip it back up? It's just going to all come out.
Or you're going to use it somehow.
Yeah, use it. Can I trust it?
Weapon,
can I trust you?
Yeah. So
what we'll do is a lot of building relationship and then also exploring, what's coming up so we can navigate it.
So I was in a setting and there were a bunch of girls around, and these girls are in their 20s, and they were talking about how their parents weren't very reliable, trustworthy, dependable, and things like that. So when we come back, I want to just talk about that and
I have the perfect thing to tell you.
Okay, all right, good.
Okay. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Our Healthy Homes. Sheila's doing a little therapy session in between the segments, trying to figure out what's wrong with Keith Sr.
Right.
651-775-9194. 651-775-9194. Keith Henry Hittner Sr. here with the lovely and talented Sheila, along with Elizabeth Kittleson, and we are talking about therapy and family dynamics. Mental health. Sheila, you had a question that you just went out the break kind of mumbling about?
I did. I was just saying that I was in a situation where I was overhearing some 20-year-olds talking amongst each other about how their parents are unreliable and not trustworthy, and I felt bad for them, because it's like they don't really have a parent then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that?
Yeah, I often will tell people in the work that we do is that parents are doing the best that they can,
mm-hmm,
and doing the best that they can with what they've been given. And that parents will sometimes fail, not because they don't love their children, not because they didn't try, but that they can't always meet their kids' needs. And that is the reality that we deal with is, based on your generational experience, you might not be able to give your child everything you need, but that's okay. And that is something that we can heal from, that we can do work for. And so for those individuals, those 20-year-olds, the conversation I would have would be, your parents did the best they can. They still love you. How can you support yourself now in the way that you need to be supported, right?
And don't you have to differentiate between what they need and what they want.
I mean, that's a really good point too, in the sense of like parents are doing the best that they can, and they're not going to meet everything because children have a lot of needs. It can
And
be
they have a lot of wants.
a lot of wants, and so like it can also impact like temperament, what they're seeing, cultural experiences, what they're seeing on social media. Like all of those things can impact it, and so parents again are doing the best that they can, and so there's going to be times where they're just going to miss it or can't give it.
Yes, and I, from my natural and health and
Yeah.
wellness aspect of it, I see the damage that the fast food, the toxic chemicals, the alcohol, the aspartame poisoning, and the Advil is what we were talking about earlier. I see all those conveniences of life and how they have affected people in their health, because I'm getting those 30, 40, and 50-year-olds that are like, holy crap, I can't even walk down the street without hurting. I can't play with my grandkids now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm seeing that at that point, but all of that damage has got to be affecting their brains and their anxiety and their depression and having a contribution towards that.
Yes, and so I think that piece of like parents are doing the best that they can, and there's room to grow and there's room to change. And I think there's that piece around, yes, you're doing the best that you can, but you need to also keep working hard.
Right.
Keep making those changes.
Don't use that as an excuse.
Don't use it as an excuse.
I did the best I could.
Yeah.
We'll do better.
Yeah, or for those individuals that feel like their parents didn't show up for them in the way that they did,
Yeah.
how then you care for yourself in
Yep.
the way that you need to, and your children.
And your kids.
How do you educate yourself?
Mhm.
Where are you getting this information to make changes?
But don't you feel like those kids have to do that earlier in life than they used to have to do?
What do you mean?
Find the ways to take care of themselves because their parents aren't, able to. Like, I feel like there's so many more kids that need to do it earlier in life.
I think the awareness is earlier in life. I think the kids are aware of it earlier in life because they have counselors in schools.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a focus
right.
on it now that there never was when I
That's
was
true.
a kid. It was like, go home and, empty the garbage.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
just none of that. In our divorce work, a lot of times, we say, I've heard all the stories, and
Yeah.
seen it all. You can
Excuses,
imagine.
everything.
What about court-ordered therapy? Because many times there'll be court-ordered therapy in order for child protection or for for visitations and all that stuff. How does that differ then? First of all, do you work with that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's not an area of specialty that I work
Okay.
in. But I think with court ordered, it depends on like a couple of things. It depends on what the point is,
Mm-hmm.
and then the willing participants. I can guide people. I can provide therapy for people. But if you're not willing to do it, just like for your stuff, right? If you can educate people, if you're not willing to make the change, I can't. Nothing will happen.
Right.
Yeah. What did I say? Start taking some personal
Yeah,
responsibility.
that's exactly what it is. I mean,
Really.
I've been sober for 38 years. Did the AA
I'm
did
30.
the whole thing, and we would watch people come in and out of AA. And the ones that were court ordered in, for driving or DUI
Yeah,
or
right.
for some
They weren't
domestic or something like that, you could say, okay, he's when's your clock up?
Right.
30 days. Okay. On day 31, we'll never see again because he's back out because he doesn't care. He's just fulfilling the thing. Not that it couldn't have helped him, but
Yeah, with mental wellness and like mental health, but also all the other areas that encompasses, you have to want it. You have to take the time because, like you said, even with the ibuprofen, right? It's so easy.
Right.
Versus doing all the other things take time. It takes investment.
Yes.
It takes intention, and that's the same with mental health. You have to put that forward, and if you have no desire or motivation, it won't happen.
Okay. So, how about?
Uh oh.
Yeah. Here it goes. Trying to be nice. How about the people that have gone to therapy for life and nothing ever changes? Like, at what point do you
Fire the patient.
Do you fire the patient, or do you, I just don't. I wish. I don't know. I wish that people. I don't know how it works, I guess, but if a person isn't changing, why would a therapist continue to, years and years and years of the same stuff over and over, and nobody's changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think kind of speaking to that piece of how you're presenting, we only hear one side. And so when we work with individuals, I might hear that they are making all of these advancements, but I don't know what's actually happening at home. So for those person that are working for years, I'm hearing this side. We might be moving increments, but maybe we're moving. Maybe I'm seeing movement. Maybe I'm hearing this experience.
But what if you don't?
But what if you,
if they come in week after week with the same complaints, the same
then what do you
gloom
do?
and doom?
We confront it. So we don't say, get out of here.
Okay.
But we say, hey, we've been doing this for a year. You're saying one thing that you want, but here's what's happening. It's not matching. So we will confront it. We will call it out. And usually what happens when you do that, though, those people oftentimes will either, hopefully will acknowledge it and make changes, or they'll go work with someone else.
They'll quit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that, when you talked about earlier, about your life and my life as far as growing up, I think we as a society have lost the ability to have a firm conversation around whatever it is, because everybody seems to fly off the handle, and we just can't sit down and have a conversation with conflict.
Oh, I know. Nobody's learning that. And
no.
So oftentimes a lot of my therapy will be around how to have hard conversations, how to model, how to have communication, because no one's learning that. You know where they're learning it? On TV.
On TV and social media, and which is really something. Look at our political world out there and the diametrically opposed society that we have from that standpoint. My brother and I are a microcosm of that.
Right, yeah.
I'm really conservative. He's really liberal. And we battle back and forth all the time on it. But I love him to death. And so it's like, I disagree with you, but I love you.
But that's not the norm, though, because I feel like the norm for this younger generation is they take that and now they can't, they don't want to adapt. They don't want to have a conversation. And I feel like so many people just have to always be right.
There's a lot of not knowing how to have conversations, or just that avoidance. This makes me uncomfortable, so
yes,
I'm not going to go into it and fight it. I'm just going to straight up avoid.
Yes, right.
I'm not going to do it.
Right.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. I just want to know, is there something that if you could just, you got an audience that's listening to you right now, what are some misconceptions or what are some points that you would like to make about therapy in general that we haven't talked about right now that you feel it's really important that people hear?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Sometimes people think therapists are going to push medication. That's not always the case. The other thing that people experience is that the therapist is going to push an agenda. Here's the worksheet we're doing. Here's what I expect you to be doing. This is where healing is going to look like. So it's this agenda piece. And then another misconception is that the therapist just won't understand them, won't get what's going on. And so I think one of the things I always like to talk about in opportunities like this is that the therapist, the two things that are really important is finding a therapist you like, building that relationship. Research shows the relationship is key for finding success, making changes. But then also, we're really collaborative. We don't come in with an agenda. We want you to meet your goals. And so whatever that is, we'll help you get there. But we are not pushing this agenda of you have to be this certain way or you have to do it this way. We see ourselves more as guides to get you there.
With that in mind, do you have an agenda? No, with that in mind, then, when you're counseling somebody, you're into the session now. You've been working with Joe for 3 months or Sally for 6 months or whatever it is. And do you give them homework assignments then? Because it can't be just that. Well, we're going to talk here for an hour and
right.
see you next month.
Right.
Is there work that's done outside of the office?
Yes, it depends on what the work is. Sometimes, so I do some type of therapy that's kind of a little bit more structured. So I will give sometimes worksheets if that's what we're working on. For others, it might be just to reflect on this or to have that conversation with that person.
Do you have them journal it then at all?
Sometimes journaling. I'm not a big journal pusher.
Yeah,
no one does it.
I'm not either. I'm not either.
But yeah,
right.
so
I think it's great. I think it's fabulous. I don't do it.
Yeah, I think it works. And so homework is just really dependent.
Yeah.
But the key is you have to do something outside of the hour. I'm an hour a day. You have to do more.
Yeah.
This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com. Thanks for tuning in, kids.
Wow.
We'll see you next week.
But when he calls me sugar, I love that man with all my I tell him, honey, you can